Welcome to the Meta One Coin Report, exploring the world of private digital currency through the eyes of human rights and empowerment for humanity. Here's your host, Leanne Carroll.
Hi, this is Leanne Carroll. Welcome to the Meta One podcast. Meta One is a multi-asset backed stablecoin that just opened their withdrawal gateways for crypto, soon to advance toward international exchanges and several centralized exchanges in the coming weeks. Also coming to Meta One is enterprise-grade security protocols, providing passwordless logins to the network, meaning voice. You can enter the Meta One exchange and your wallet with just your voice. This disallows corporations, investment firms, and governments from owning Meta One coin. It reinforces our humans-only policy, preventing centralization, whale dumps, and corruption. More exciting news was shared with Jim Price yesterday as he had Robert P. Dunlap, I don't ever want to missay that name, founder and executive trustee of Meta One. He had him on the Jim Price show at Jim Price.
The JimPriceShow.com.
The JimPriceShow.com. For some reason, I always miss that. How are you,
That's
Jim?
all right.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Well, and the thing is, I put the JimPriceShow.com only because it just seemed like it really puts the enunciation on that this is something, right? If you say Jim Price Show, it seems passive. It doesn't seem like it's something. So I always put the in front of it, and people are like, well, what is that? And so, it makes it a little bit different, and it does kind of screw people up once in a while. So keep you thinking. But you know what? Robert is doing great work out there, and I'm glad that we're able to be a part of this and have this conversation about what he's doing and those things. There's so many times in life we don't have these moments, right? We think about different times in history. Oh, I'd like to have been there during this. Well, I think we get to be a part of that right now. I think this is something really great that we get to move forward with. And having Robert on the show yesterday do a quick little interview about the things that are going on with Meta One, it was nice because it refreshes everybody's memory that this is a lot of work and there's a lot of things that go into these things.
It's very, very layered. A lot of hard work has gone into it. And the layers of technology, this is enterprise class. Nothing has ever been done like this before. And actually, it is a fast moving timeline. A lot of people that have been investors from the very beginning understand that because we've shared the process with them. But from the outside looking in, it's an amazing journey.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing is when we call it a journey, now, so a journey, right? We say the word journey. I think we run past that word, right? Or we say path, or I've been going down. Oh, I'm so many years into this. A journey isn't like, hey, I went to Flagstaff. Well, what happened between here and Flagstaff? In that part of the journey, and what did you do in Flagstaff? Well, Flagstaff wasn't the destination. It was actually going to Sugar Bowl and, or whatever. But what did you do between here and there? You didn't just get to Flagstaff. You had to have purchased tickets to fly. You had to have purchased a vehicle and made sure the tires are right. And I mean, there's so many things that go into that, right? That journey is so many things encompassing. And sometimes we run past those things that it takes a lot just to get to somewhere. So let's say you're leaving from Dallas to Flagstaff. Well, you got to think about fuel and oil changes and tires and vehicle maintenance and vehicle quality. And am I going to take some chips with me or some drinks, or do I need to go hotel in Santa Rosa, or am I going to stay in Albuquerque, or am I going to drive all the way through? I mean, that's part of the journey, right? And we all forget that those are all pieces. Like, oh, I went to Flagstaff. Well, what'd you do in Flagstaff? No. What about did you stop anywhere along the way? And what were those journeys, right? Was there construction? Was there this or that? So there's always those little things.
Yeah, the journey's been an incredible learning experience, and it's a gift. It's a labor of love. It's a project for humanity. It's a project to what I call remove the scourge. It's a way to get off the hamster wheel, and it's a way to build life, and it's a way to be able to pass down to posterity. It's a way to get government out of your life. It's a way to own yourself and own your own assets. It's a way to be self-responsible, and it's just part of the change that is occurring across all segments in in reality. I mean, people are working to change the education system. If you look at what needs to be changed to elevate human consciousness, it has to come from all levels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it has to come from how we manage ourselves, how we manage our health, how we manage our education, how we manage our thoughts and our energy. It's so it comes our science, you know, there's so much antiquated information in science.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting truth out there, and that's what Meta One is doing, is bringing truth into the human existence.
Well, and that's something that we don't, and here's the thing, this is a system that we quote unquote were born into. So if you want to use the matrix as the example of what we mean by that, is that you're plugged into a system. You were born 100% into this, and someone else has been draining off of you your energies, your time, your knowledge, your ability to think freely for yourself, to do those things that you want to do. And we forget that when we say, well, we want to be free. There, in every man, I don't care if you were born in South Africa, you're born in Chile, you're born in Australia, the Pacific Rim, and it doesn't matter where you're. There is always inside of us this idea that, well, how come I can't? Why shouldn't I be able? Well, what's whole? And then there's, well, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. And we get told at an early age that, oh, you can't do that. That, well, you got to get a permit. Well, you got to do this. You got to do that. But isn't it always everybody's? Even the dictators want freedom. The dictators want freedom to tell you what to do, right? They don't want you hindering them. They don't want you slowing them down. They're even pandering in the idea of freedom, right? They want more freedoms for themselves to tell you how to live your life. But in reality, we all have this inside of us, that little small, still voice that says, you know what, you should be free. You should have that freedom and live your life, live the best life you can for you. And the talents that we're given in life make us who we are, because we all don't have those same talents, those gifts. And if we're not tuning into that, if we're not honing those, if we're not using our freedoms to figure that out, then we're not living our best life, right? I hate using the cliche, the best life, because I think some others have hijacked those certain terms like that. But freedom is inside of all of us, and we should be really thinking about what Meta One is really doing for us. What those things really mean to say that you're outside of the fiat currency system. I have railed against this for decades in my own life. It's like, guys, this is fake. Well, what are you gonna do about it? Well, I didn't have an answer, right? I just didn't have that. I was right up to that 98%, the scroll bar when you're downloading something, you're just right up to it. Like, I didn't, and this is that piece, right? It's like, I know this sucks, but I can't get out of the suck. So how do I, and I think that's what we've done here. I think it's amazing. And we should be really embracing this, but then you're still in the system, right? Well, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get,
the fear of repercussion is huge, and it's instilled in us, and our parents instill it's instilled in our parents, and the parents instill it in the children. It's like this multi-generational
the sins of our forefathers, right? Isn't that what they talk about quite often? The sins of our forefathers. What, because we weren't told, right? We were told to be quiet at the dinner table. Don't talk about politics or religion. Be quiet. Shh. And the next thing you know, dads are gone and everything else. It's the home life is destroyed, and then we wonder why we have a greater void there. And I think that this is a great time in history. We have such a huge void there. It's creating a vacuum now, and people are running to this. This is where people really should be looking.
Yeah, looking forward instead of, well, actually, the past really can give us a lot of clues into what could be happening and what to do about it.
Yeah.
So, share with me a little bit about your conversation with Robert yesterday, in case some of the listeners on this program didn't hear your conversation. What were some of the key points?
Well, a lot of it, I think that the biggest thing is that with all good things, it takes time, right? It's not something you just don't click on the switch, but we want what's the greatest, thievery of all times is usually either our time or our money, right? Well, if that's money is the one of the big things that everybody wants, then we got to make sure that's secure, right? We got to make sure that we're not making ourselves vulnerable. Well, when you're working within this digital currency realm, that is, obviously, and we have a true and metal backed coin here, so it's a little bit different than just the fictitious stuff. But at the same time, that those security protocols, those things out there, there's always evil trying to penetrate, trying to destroy, trying to take away, to take their few penance, a little bit of this or that, and then destroy the confidence in what is going on. So those layers of defense, those layers of protocol are extremely complicated and take time. Well, then you have the evils of government, and you have the evils of the One World Bank, and you have the evils of just Satan himself. I mean, however you describe your evil in your life, that evil exists in this realm as well. And one of the things I think that I kept asking him is like, you've been doing a lot of crazy stuff, and you're just working through all these things and stuff that we can't even begin to understand. He's like, yeah, we're trying real hard. And he really doesn't want to go into great detail, because he takes that privacy of those security things very, very seriously. And it was great to see him talk about those things that, he really kind of opened up a little bit about that, saying, hey, there are some things out there we are working on, because we want to make sure that this is really secure. This is going to be the best way going forward. We don't want any mistakes. And when you have someone who's driving for that level of reliability, you need to give them that time and that breath to be able to move freely. And sometimes we forget that. As humans, we want things now. We want our 2-minute cheeseburger, right? But nobody on God's green earth can say that they can make a cheeseburger in 2 minutes. It's just not possible. First of all, you have to grow a cow, and those take a little longer than 2 minutes, right? So and we always forget about that. Hamburger doesn't just appear. There's a farmer that's involved here in transportation. So we always want that 2-minute cheeseburger, and we never remember that all the things that went into that to make that possible. And so the security protocols he was going through, the banking stuff, the accreditation that everybody is doing all this, checking them out, doing their due diligence. I think sometimes we forget how much scrutiny he's under. We're all going over here. Well, I couldn't, that guy wanted to do this one thing and I couldn't do it. And I'm just irritated. Well, we have to remember how many other things are going on, and to say that this has been rolled out and is going to be, we're going to have a ability to move this around freely, and work in the fictitious or the fake fiat currency world, as well as working with a true, I think a true coin, right? Something that's tangible. We should be really proud of that, and we should be willing to give that time. And I know as humans, we don't always want to. We always want to, we forget. And I think it was neat to hear him talk about those stuff. He was really, really being open with it, and very reassuring. I like hearing when he's talking about the things that he's had to capture and do and this and that. But some people, it gets a little over their head, but it's neat to hear all the things that he's having to do. He probably gets tired of repeating it, but he's also living it, right? So there's a lot of that out there. But it's just neat to watch, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. And having met him in Anaheim and building the relationship I have with him and the others, including yourself, it's been so great. I call that part of my journey, right? I said that, back in high school, I asked, what's the Corporation of America? What is this? What is that? And supposedly the intellects that I talked to didn't know anything about it. But I kept saying, there's a better path. There's a better way. There's better this. I need to find it. I need to find it. I need to find it. And then I have been able to be a part of all this. And I'm just truly eternally grateful to be a part of it and be talking about it this way. It answers checks so many boxes for me in my life.
I can say the same. It's a big dot connector, and it's, it's funny. When I was young, just like you, I would say I was really into truth and bigger ideas. And
Mhm.
I think when I was in elementary school and I saw in our sociology book a picture of slaves with it was a drawing of slaves with ropes behind them and then big squares of blocks that were depicting how slaves drug the blocks to build the pyramids in Egypt. I just looked at
Right.
that and I thought to myself, no, something's not right here. And it was, I think a light bulb went off when I saw that. And
Right.
it made me not trust anything that I was being told.
Yeah.
And, and when I was about that age, I was wondering, is it more absurd to think that, and this really kind of makes it happen. It's like, if, is it more absurd to think that other life exists beyond this planet, or is it more absurd to believe that life doesn't exist beyond this planet?
Right.
So you have
Right.
to ask yourself, well, if that's true, if it is a little bit more absurd to think that life on this planet is the only life that exists, if you think about another planet, I mean, does the life on those planets, do they have to pay to live on their planet? I mean,
Right.
we literally have to pay to live on our planet.
Yeah.
And um, over the generations, we become used to this. And oh,
Right.
you have to pay. You have to have money. You have to pay your way. Well,
Right.
I mean, contributing isn't exactly, sitting at a desk and paying your way, and slaving and not never really owning anything and having the fruits of your labor being robbed from you from a you know an entity that asserts itself as an authority over you and actually
Right.
makes inserts items in the reality that makes you believe it.
Right.
So
Well,
that's
you
the
think
other
about
major.
you think about the ocean, our own ocean, right? There are parts of the world that we haven't even begun to explore yet, even though we're overpopulated, which another is another. Um, they just don't
Yeah.
listen to that, right? But the idea that if we took everybody, I think it's what someone said that if you took everybody who's ever been alive on Earth, you could still give everybody like an acre of land in America. I mean, there's really we don't even realize how big America really is. But think about the ocean and how much of this technology we've been able to take film and films different organic life at the bottom of the ocean, those octopus that are as big as boats, and yet there's no such thing as kraken, right? The one that where octopus used to take boats back or takes boats down back in early sailing days. How about there's bass out there that could swallow a man, or a catfish that could swallow a man, but yet we run around and say, well, you know what? We are the only thing that can exist. We are it, right? We're the biggest and baddest thing on earth, but yet we're really not. The blue whale, the humpback whale, the orca. I mean, it's silly. We should be so humbled by the world around us and so appreciative of that. But we're so selfish. We're so selfish to think that we are in complete control of the world around us and we can affect everything. But then at the same time, we don't even have the freedom of our own life. We've given that over to people that have somehow been born into privilege, or somehow been born into politics, or born into a bloodline, and we're giving ourselves over to them. We don't have to. Why are we doing that? Why are we running in those directions and saying, oh yeah, we need to give this over. We need to give, but yet we're arrogant enough to say, well, we're the only thing in the universe. We haven't even got our own world figured out. We don't even have to live free on our own planet. And then we're making judgments of others. I don't know. That's a real kind of a mind bender in its way, that you think about, like, I don't know. I mean, there has to be more than just us and all the
Mhm.
things that are going on around us, and the fact that there's a planet that comes by Earth every 3,200 years. Let's talk about that. I mean, people weren't even talking about that 5 years ago.
These
That are,
magnificent buildings that were here,
yeah,
that these horse and buggy people were supposed to have supposedly built,
yeah,
they were building little cabins for themselves to live in. It's like, just all you have to do is just take everything that you've learned and put it over here, and then look around and then question,
yeah,
because there's so much. And just like you said, underwater, there's large creatures and intelligence there, but there's also evidence of cities
Yeah.
and incredible.
Just off the Florida coast. The Florida coast has, just within 20 feet of water, has, they're saying, well, it might be Atlantis or whatever, but there's an entire civilization there. So what happened there? How did that, or all these pyramids, you talked about buildings, but there's pyramids in China that people don't want to talk about. And the LiDAR stuff that they're going through and able to do now is really pulling back the vegetation and the terrain and really showing us that, yeah, there's a lot more cool stuff out there. And, but yeah, we're able to, I'm affecting the climate, I'm out there doing it. Just, we don't even seem to really know our own world, but yet we say that we can control it. Right. I don't know. It kind of bothers me sometimes, why we get so wrapped up in ourselves and we can't even be good to each other. Think about that. We have slavery. Slavery is more prevalent on earth now than ever in the history of man. Yet we talk about everybody on earth is free. How is that possible? Those two don't work together. So we got to think about how to get out of that system. What's that?
Yeah, I was thinking, I was reminding myself how free I was when I was pulling my daughter out of school yesterday. I had to ask permission 30 minutes in advance, and I had to press a button on the outside and say that I was there.
Can I help you? Can I help? You know who I am, Nancy. Let me in here. Like, what do you?
I don't know. Do you have a winning lottery ticket?
like what? Slap your ID against the window. Let me in. My child's in there. Oh,
yeah, it's
yeah,
it's just something that we have to ask another human for permission. And all these, I always think about the brilliant points that you make, especially in some of our earlier conversations when you were saying how it's the people on the ground that are actually doing the enforcing. And that actually gets into the brainwashing. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about today. But, the 16-year-old who's standing there at the hostess stand, sir, do you have a mask on?
You're not today, ma'am. Not today. I did that. Did I tell you that? I told you that story
at home. Yeah.
Did I tell you that? I was like, oh, I felt, after I think about it, I felt bad, but it was just, it's just not today. Today's not, don't do this. This is not it. You gave me a napkin that you washed in a wash machine, but I'm about pretty guaranteed it's not that sanitary. And you're going to tell me to put this over my face to walk to my table? No, not today. We're not going to do this.
I remember being out with a group of people in Sedona, and they were making a big deal about it. They wouldn't let us sit together because of the restrictions. And we just all looked at each other and said, do we really want to eat here? Do we really want to put up with this?
Right.
And we all just got up and left. It's right. It's all about going where you're treated best. Right. And that's why we have choices. And that's, again, why Meta One is here.
Yeah.
But getting back to that brainwash thing,
sorry. Yeah, we went off the trail, didn't we? Sorry.
Well, no, it's all good because this is a great conversation. I wanted to just talk about the layers of brainwashing and how it's actually implemented. And this is something, this was based on a paper that's been written, and it happens quite a bit in our society. And if you look back in other operations that have gone on in our history, it always seems to have these elements. Are you ready to hear them?
Yeah.
Okay. It always begins with an element of shock. Okay. Then there's an element of isolation. There's an element of masking, an element of propaganda. And then an all-encompassing feeling like it's surrounding you and you can't go anywhere. Then you might get a little break. And then there's a continued process, maybe even a double down after you get your little break. It's right. Like that shock and awe. And then there's a continuous info, disinfo, and counter info campaign.
Sounds like the Mexican beer flu to me.
It does. And then it
Because
puts you in a point.
the shock, and then and now we're in the disinformation phase of things.
Yeah, and then you get to where nothing makes sense, which uh, confuses the nervous system, confuses the mind, and then it brings you into a greater sense of compliance. It's easier to get the masses in the corral after that. And then there's threats. There's always threats, continuous threats, and then there's continuous requirements for continuous compliance, and a lot of it is senseless compliance.
Right.
Must comply to do this, and you must comply to do that. So that pretty much breaks down the operation that we're living in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you think about it, well, those are being done at a micro scale on specific topics, right? But then it's done at a very worldwide large scale, where we've through the trickle down of time, where we've got into the fiat currency and then the petrodollar, and it was gold backed money, and then it was silver backed, and then went to petrodollar, and now the worlds are decoupling from the petrodollar, and there's different levels of this game happening, and there's great big slow moving, you can see it moving through time, and then there's the really quick ones that are happening almost kind of in the individual level, but then you have national things or international things. I mean, you look at the Mexican beer flu. I mean, we are in those late stages of that, right? Of the misinformation, disinformation, the mental part of not understanding what's going on. And so it's a constant battle. Evil doesn't take a day off. Oh, they never do.
Evil doesn't sleep.
No,
but evil has within it the seeds of its own destruction.
True.
And I think that what they're doing, and the more I think, shock and awe is part of the process. And the more they do the shock and awe, I think that it shocks and awes the population into awakening. I think with every step they take, there's a greater awakening and a greater awakening. And conversations like this assist in that. Oh, let's talk about the censorship.
Yeah, I got kicked off of YouTube. Finally, I got my badge of courage for that. Golly, finally got kicked off YouTube. They took
your channel down, didn't they? And removed all of your content.
Yep. Said thank you, but no thank you, and erased everything. But what's weird is there's like 2 videos from that when I was on the radio show. I was at the radio station that we would stream those live, and those are 2 still up there for some reason, and it's really weird. They're still attached to the account, but the account doesn't exist. It's a kind of weird thing, but anyway, I have not gone in to create another YouTube account, and I guess I could. I just kind of being stubborn, but I don't think I should have to go create another account just to trick them. I don't know. Yeah. So, but anyway, but no, censorship is. But see, then I had the CEO of CloudHub on the show yesterday, and I just did a quick little interview with him. And I did a short show yesterday because of all the outages. Oh, by the way, I don't know if we're in October, and I don't know if you date your stuff here, but we're interviewing October 5th. October 4th, they put Donald Trump's Facebook page back up.
Really?
So with Facebook's little shutdown yesterday, with all their little things going on, they actually put him back up. And I was actually going to check, and I did not do it yet. I'm going to check right here while we're talking, is to see if Donald Trump is back on Twitter. And because everybody was having a problem, I wanted to see if he was actually back up. No. People are referencing to him, but his page is not back up. So anyway, I just thought that would be interesting if he was actually back up there, but he's not. But Facebook does have him back up there. I did verify it and went to the channel and all that. So censorship is really weird. And the fact that I was talking to the CEO of CloudHub, and I asked him about the Facebook CEO and why he's there. And a lot of it, he says, is a lot of it because he grew up this way. He was 20, 21, being put in a position of power. And he says a lot of what has happened is the Facebook itself has molded him. Not that he actually molded Facebook into a free platform that people feel like they could express themselves like they do on CloudHub, but yet the government touches, the bureaucracy, everybody kind of being a yes man to him getting his way, him being enormously wealthy, does tend to kind of kind of defined you, right? You end up being defined by your wealth, right? Defined by what you have become. And it shows that he's just not become a very good person. His wishes or his ideas are far greater than the freedom of man. Knowing that you can make your own decisions, screw it up, and fix it all on your own without his help.
But isn't it more than that? Isn't it more like I always see Facebook and the social media platforms? I mean, they have front men, but aren't they really just DARPA operations?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
And
I
I
think they're
try not to go
government
too far down
run.
that rabbit hole with people, because
Yeah.
some people don't want to accept that the CIA and those guys have actually had extreme touches in this, and they have shown where funding and things like that have all been a part of that through our government. We're funding something that is mining us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And we wouldn't have it if it weren't for that. So that's really good to keep in mind too. I mean, there's front men, but they're really not the man
right,
or
right.
the organization.
Well, yeah, someone's behind him is either pushing his buttons or pulling the strings, and he's trying to ride that lightning, right? And how to maintain being that guy, but then not being that guy. So
Yeah.
it's tough. I mean, when you sell yourself out, you don't get to be your own man. That's kind of the bad part of it. So.
And I think part of the shutdown too is I think Facebook was called out for not censoring enough. They were
Right.
called out for allowing too much of
Right.
other information being, and I think that's part of why they had to shut things down to redo the algorithm. And we'll see how it works from here.
Well, and that's where I wonder if this whole thing yesterday with the shutdown, that they weren't doing some resetting. Maybe some of the master key holders within Facebook or Twitter or whatever were doing some resets, because all of a sudden Trump's back up. And it just makes you wonder why. Why would you, when you do your little reset, why would he pop back up? And who was resetting it? Was it really Facebook doing it? Or was it the military that's gone in and taken control? Or is it DARPA, trying to do another misdirection of things, right? Oh, create this great big shutdown. But then we see that a bunch of CEOs and large stockholders of Facebook yesterday morning, prior to the shutdown, were dumping stocks. So, evil just does not take a day off. And so where we may see this as one thing, people took advantage of it and did it in nefarious things on top of what may have been a good thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's how to figure that out. How do we know which way is really up? And history will tell us, right? We'll know, not today or tomorrow, but maybe in a year from now, we'll really get the truth all the way out. So anyway, those are the tough things. Those are the tough answers, right? Some of it, you just gotta wait for the answers to come out. Let time figure it out for you. And don't worry. And one thing I talk about on my show, and I do try to talk about this. I talk about other people's actions, but we got to make sure that we're the right people, right? If we know that they're trying to manipulate our mind, we know they're trying to manipulate our emotions and manipulate our actions, manipulate our money, manipulate our future, then we've got to make sure that our heart and our minds and our souls are centered in the right way, so that we act in the right way. We act, we don't react. We get to make decisions, and makes us be the right people, so other people gravitate towards us, and then they find a better life that way as well.
That's a really good point. Hold yourself in your center, do the right thing. It's almost as if you're watching them do their thing, but you're creating over here, you're operating over here, and what they're doing over there doesn't affect you.
Right.
And so that's how we that's how we plow forward.
Right. And that's tough. So, and that's the tough part, keeping yourself centered. Don't race towards the shiny object. Don't be the moth to the flame.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I would say. Just don't buy it. If someone's trying to intimidate you, don't buy it.
Right.
Don't buy
Absolutely.
the intimidation. Well, speaking of, you've been doing some really interesting conferences lately.
Yes. It has been. The traveling is picking up. Some people are like, oh, I can't wait to travel. Well, when you're sitting inside of a conference center for 3 days, that's not traveling. It's not the same type of travel, right? But no, I've had some really great opportunities. It's been good. Was in Colorado Springs a week before last. I was in Tulsa this last weekend. Nobody thinks Tulsa, but no, what's in Tulsa? No, Tulsa's a nice town. It really is. There's a lot of neat stuff there. Getting ready to be in Gainesville next weekend. I'll be speaking at an event there, and then to Utah the weekend after, and then to Wichita. That's where I'm at. I will be speaking at that event there in Wichita as well. We're having a full forensic audit rally, and so I'll be speaking at that event with some other with other notables. And but what's really neat, though, I honestly find there's two things. It's a double-edged sword. You go to these events, and they are very emotionally, if you're there for the right reasons, that they're very emotionally taxing. But at the exact same time, they really do fill up your cup when you get to listen to people and hey, I watched your show. I'm so happy to meet you. It's great, and then you hear people talking about freedoms. You get to hear people talk about, don't take the jab, don't do this, don't do that, be your own, have freedoms. And it gets you get empowered, right? You get your cup filled up in that way. So yeah, I'm out there trying to help people, trying to talk to people about stuff, but yeah, at the same time, and that pulls a lot of energy out of you, right? You're giving a lot, but at the same time, I do get things in return, and there is a benefit to that. And because when you're out, like I do my show daily from 4 to 5 Central time, I feel like sometimes I got a 5-gallon bucket on the top of my head, and I'm just yelling at myself like nobody else is listening. And that's kind of the best analogy. So when you go out there and you go to these events and you get to talk to people and you hear, you're either one-on-one or you're in a group situation, and you see the reactions, and you're like, yeah, that's right, that's how we need to do it. And you see the crowd building up to that, and that they're feeling that, and they know they're understanding it. That is a real benefit. And I do enjoy doing that, because I want people to understand that, some of your Bill of Rights are some of the most basic words written, and they're a love letter from your forefathers. And yet we don't learn those. We don't pay attention to them. And so the spiritual part of things and the emotional and the freedom part, that's a big, big part of the travel.
And you're really doing some good work out there, Jim. You really are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Listening to your show on the JimPriceShow.com is very good. And you also have a Twitter feed.
Yeah.
You have a Twitter. What's your handle on Twitter?
Twitter is the Jim Price Show. Facebook is the Jim Price Show. D Live is the Jim Price Show. Twitch is the Jim Price Show. Clout Hub, CLOUTHUB, Clout, like you have Clout Hub, is the Jim Price Show. I basically went out there and captured all those the best I can. And I see what else. There's I'm on Rumble, which Rumble is real. I mean, a lot of people think they like Rumble, but being a provider or an influencer, it's really not that great of a platform. It's just really hard to work with. But anyway, I'm on Rumble, the Jim Price Show as well. And if you go to my JimPriceShow.com, there's links at the bottom. And also there's the Meta One link there on the JimPriceShow.com. And there's a universal law link there on JimPriceShow.com. So those are important to me, that I make sure I'm a part of all that stuff going on out there. And I'm getting ready to be on a couple other platforms I'm signing up for. And it's just making sure that everybody's able to easily find me. You can go to iTunes. You can go to Spotify. You can go to Alexa and you say, Alexa, play the Jim Price Show. And if you're playing this loud on your computer right now, Alexa will probably start playing the Jim Price Show for you. So that's kind of neat in some ways. I'm kind of honored that I'm out there in a lot of ways. But yeah, I do what I can to be out there where people can easily access everybody, or access me, I guess.
Yeah. And we have a Meta One group that travels to some of the conventions that you go to, so you can meet the Meta One people and get all of your questions answered, sign up or get assistance.
Yeah. And that's going to be growing. I mean, that's something that we're going to be doing, going to some of these bigger events and starting to get into not just the reawakening tour with General Flynn, but we're going to be going into some other bigger events, including some of the state fairs. I know that sounds kind of hokey, but why wouldn't people at the state fair want to hear about this? And I think it's important to be a part of some of these things. I want to go to like the Oshkosh flying, the flying air show. be there with people that want to be free and want freedoms. And obviously they've chose a life of freedom to fly. Why wouldn't we want to be there and be a part of what they're doing? Or, maybe the Texas State Fair or the Iowa State Fair, or, just or Daytona Bike Week. Those people like freedom, right? They all think about freedoms and liberties. And so we want to be at some of these bigger events so that we can actually go out and let people talk to us, but we can actually let people really see that there is a better way to live other than just in the fiat currency fake world that they want us to be in.
Yeah, it's very grassroots. And I think a lot of people do understand this. And it's really nice to be able to talk with people and awaken that within themselves. And 90% of it is mental. And 90% of it is spiritual, just knowing who you are within yourself.
Yeah. And I think we all have that in us. I think we all have that little, inside of us, hey, there's something wrong here. Something doesn't feel right. Well, why aren't we responding to that? And this is the way we respond to it, by getting ourselves away from them, and don't feed into their system. If we're not feeding into their system, I actually said this on my show last week. I said, guys, why are you paying into a system that is destroying you? Why are you giving them power that they're using to destroy you? Why are you giving them attention when they're using that attention to destroy you? Stop paying into it. Stop being a part of it. Unplug from that. Don't give over those, don't give over that power. You don't have to. And as soon as you do that, you'd be surprised how easy. I mean, it sounds almost, because I guess this is the Munchausen syndrome, where you love your captor. Is that the right
Stockholm syndrome?
Stockholm syndrome, not Munchausen. Munchausen's the always being hurt or something. Anyway, Stockholm, where you love your captor, right? You learn to love your captor. We don't have to love our captor.
Right. You see their side.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I can understand, he only keeps me here because I'm bad. It's like, no, you don't have to stay in these fake walls, these fake prisons.
Safety. It's always safety too. You're exactly right. And this goes in every level. You see this happening in relationships. Well, he just wants me to be safe, or she just wants to know where I am, or that they just care about me. And it's like, set those boundaries.
Right. Yeah. That's what we have to, if we just stop, there's an old saying that we all use: vote with your money. Well, so let's go with that simple term: vote with your money. Why are you paying into a system? Why are you buying into a system that is abusing you, that is lying to you? There is, I honestly, I don't know where they get the 20% that says the government isn't lying to them when they do surveys, because I don't know of anybody. Even the most liberal of people that voted for Hillary and think she's God's gift, they still don't believe the government is honest. And I don't know where in these surveys are like, oh yeah, 20% of Americans believe the government is doing the right thing. I don't know who they're talking to, because I just don't meet those people. So that tells me, let's say that survey is absolutely accurate. There is 20% of Americans that believe the government is amazing. Where's the other 80% that's like, hey, I'm done, I'm out? I mean, if you think you can shut down a company with 20% of the employees walking out, what happens if 20% of Americans just say, we're done? We're not playing your game anymore. We're not playing your system anymore. I'm not paying into this system. What would happen then? What would that look like? Well, how could we just have our freedoms? Could we just be who we were supposed to be and what God tells us we should be?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
I think the fight is going to be just a little bit more than that, but I do believe in my heart that it will come to that. I do believe that enough people will band together. And I think that, device isolation was, did I say isolate?
Oh, I don't think you got to that one.
Separate yourself from the, others.
Right.
And really all of these things are included in what a narcissist does in a narcissistic relationship.
Right.
And and I always tell my friends, it's, if I lied to you and if I was a proven liar, you wouldn't believe a word I say.
Right.
Why does it not apply in other areas?
Right. Well, think about the potato in chief. Says that you can't define America. You can't show me in America. You have no idea what America really is. So what does it really matter? I mean, I'm paraphrasing. And if you think about that and how that really sounds and what kind of mind manipulation that really is, I mean, that right there, that should snap everybody awake. That statement alone that says there is no America. There's no, you can't define America. There's nothing, nothing here that you aren't America. It's like that right there should just, that should be the wet fish to the face, right? That should smack us all awake in this whole thing. But so many are like, oh, he's just so full of wisdom. It's like, no. And that in itself that should be the great disqualifier there. If someone who's supposedly leading what was considered to be the free world says that there is no America, that person should be disqualified from office immediately. But everybody's not even thinking about that, right? They're mad that he said it, but they're not doing anything about it. But what would it take if 20% of us said we've had enough?
Well, I think that day it could arrive, and
right.
I mean, we'll see. And, we continue to plow forward with our platform and with our message, and those that join us benefit and become part of the group of people that are creating life over here and not looking back. And
well, the value of that's going to increase the longer that the Potato in Chief continues to do what he's doing. See, in reality, the more that he's destroying what we consider to be America, the greater value this really will be, and the greater freedoms that you'll actually have because they continue to destroy what we consider to be America.
Yeah, he's really the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, he really is. I mean, it's kind of sick to say that, but yeah, but he's also the great awakener. I mean, I think he's doing a lot we had some other people that were out there that got us to see what evils were around us. But I think this is the wet fish to the face. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been smacked by a fish, but it ain't pleasant. So, I mean, it really is a surprise when it happens to you. So I think this is the time. I think we really, and we should take opportunities like this, right? Don't go back to sleep. Don't go be the potato.
That's true. A crisis should never go to waste.
Yeah.
We're making the most of it, aren't we?
Thanks, Hillary, for that. Should never let an operate. Well, then she the one that said that she should never let a good. I think, but never let a crisis go to waste. Never let a crisis go to waste, as she said.
I think that was a Kissinger phrase.
Oh, and she reused it. Well, that's obviously. Yeah. She wasn't ever really that brilliant, anyway. She's a great she was a great manipulator, but I think she just did a lot of things because she was just an evil person. But that's just my choice. My choice of words, my opinions do not reflect those of others. So,
right. Well, I'll make sure and put that disclaimer.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really good things happening, and it's really exciting to see. It's exciting to see it being built from the ground up, and it's being built in the I was listening to a economic show, and they were saying how paper dollars and central bank money isn't really money, it's currency, and only gold and silver.
Isn't it funny how they just keep using like another word for another? It's like wait, it's currency, it's not it's
but
like,
if you think about it, currency is really manipulated, it's owned, it's perpetuated. I always say that the symbols for the currency, you could look at it as a scourge. And actually, I picked that up from Michael Tessarian, but it's true. It's a scourge. And gold and silver, and a lot of economists feel this way or think this way, is real money. So Meta One is not only currency, it's real money that you own, that is untappable,
tangible.
Hackable. It's a game changer.
Well, and that's where people, and again, so when you say something like that, think about how odd that sounds. Someone who is, I mean, we've all, your parents, my parents, me and you, we've all grown up in this fiat currency society.
Yeah.
So how weird is it for you to say that, well, your currency will either maintain or grow in value, when all we've understood is the deflation. that deflation of the currency causes inflation of cost of goods, 6 to 12% loss every year. If you talk to people who truly understand economies, that means you have to double yourself every 5 to 10 years just to maintain. That's not getting ahead like, oh, I'll double myself every 5 years. I'll be, I'm rich. No, you have to double yourself every 5 years just to maintain value, because they're destroying that value of your currency, which then make, and again, the GDP stuff they lie to us about, and
Everything
what an
is a
absolute
lie.
mess.
Everything.
It is.
Everything is an absolute lie. So, and
Yeah.
that's the other thing. We're stopping the lies, and I love
Yeah.
that. I like you. I'm very proud to be part of this movement. The huge.
I almost, I say proud, and I think sometimes we think about, we don't want to be prideful, right? But we should be.
Yeah.
This is the difference. This is a different thing, and we don't want, well, I guess we don't want to be boastful, but we should still have pride, right? We should still have that pride that, what, we get to be a part of something that's good, and it's going to be a difference. So I like it.
I do too. Well, I think that's kind of a good conversation. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we close?
No, it just it's great to be a part of this, but understand the mind manipulation, the actual true brainwashing of however you want to term it, that makes you feel the best or even the worst about what these people really are doing to us with manipulation of currency, manipulation of facts. There's a lot of things out there that we as citizen journalists, or whatever you want to call yourself, or whoever you listen to or watch, it's neat to see how we've actually shortened the lifespan of some of these crises that they used to use that for decades or weeks or months, or however you want to talk about it. We have to understand, as soon as we break away those chains, we quit letting them have that power, then suddenly we get to make better decisions. And even though you're making better decisions, you end up being more honorable, because you don't want to manipulate like they did. You don't want to degrade people like they did. You find yourself outside of it, and you find yourself wanting to be more honorable, more dignified, and you end up being a better person, which means you get to do more for others. I talk about on my show a lot that selflessness is the root cause of all sin. Selflessness would make the world a far better place. And the 10% we do, a little bit extra for everybody, would make things so much better. And if we break out of these bonds of the mind manipulation, of the control effect, all the different things you can think of, whatever words, like I said, whatever word you want to use on there, to either wake yourself up or snap yourself to the idea that these people are trying to destroy you. When that happens and we all just walk away, we just break the chains and get out of this, we will find an amazing other side to this whole thing. And that transformation is something to look forward to. And I think this is a key to that. I think Meta One is on the right path. I think what they're doing with universal law is obviously the right path. And as soon as we all start doing things for each other, and that's also continuation of that same thing.
Right. Operating in your highest integrity. And those outside forces get their power from taking it from you. When you stop giving them power, they have no power. That's a very, very good point. Yeah,
absolutely.
And if you look at all the news organizations, the car companies, the medical companies, the power companies, a lot of the churches, everything that could be owned is all owned by the same people. The people that own the banks, the people that own, like every place you look, you go to the grocery store, the shelves are all full of the corporations that they own. The newsstands are full of the propaganda that they own. It's every time you go to the store, you're feeding the machine, basically.
So buy local, buy from somebody that you trust, right? So go to the farmer, go to the butcher, go to the local dairy, you'd be surprised how many dairies were within 10 minutes of your house. You'd be surprised how many, how many butchers or how many processors are there. And I was talking about this, the other day, is that, think about how many times you could be going down the street and buying from a guy who's actually just lives about 10 miles up the road from you, who's got cattle, but you're going to this processor. He's getting what you need. Maybe you want veal, maybe you're wanting elk, maybe you're wanting bear, maybe you're wanting deer, and they have it. There's a lot of guys who would love to go hunting, but they can't eat all that deer meat. So they'll sell it out. So buy that local and take the power away from them. Don't keep putting into the system going, I can't believe how big PepsiCo is. Well, quit buying it. That's how you don't make them so big. You don't want Coca-Cola running your life, telling you whether you're, this or that. Well, then don't buy their products. And it goes real simple that way. So vote with your money.
Yeah. When I listen to the other crypto influencers, it's all about cooperation. Everyone cooperates. Mm-hmm. All the exchanges are interconnected. Well, not all of them, but right. There's a big cooperation, right. And that's really what we need to go from a competitive edge to a cooperative.
Well, isn't that the decentralizing of power when you're taking it away from one pyramid point and you're bringing it back down to the base? So everybody's down here working within, and so it seems that you can hold each other a little more accountable down here, right? When this person's so high up here on the peak, how do you dare reach them, right?
And each person can make a greater contribution, and I think that's what people really want and need in their life anyway. So thank you again, Jim.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful having you on the podcast.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. And if you would like to know more about MetaOne Coin, go to metaone.io. If you'd like to learn more about universal law and personal freedom, the kinds of information that we're talking about, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be a corporate fiction? Go to number 8, universal law, number 8.io. We also have a fantastic line of gear, wear shirts, mugs, towels, whatever you want, stickers at lightgear.io. Please like, share, and comment. We always appreciate hearing from you. And until we meet again, live freely and live abundantly.